Yo, 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 what's up? It's your boy, Big Mike Raider. And we got a special one for you. Let's get this thing started.
This is one of them hits now. Heard back from Earth, we just shot a few of my shits down. It's safe to say I'm totally pissed. Wow, my cloaking devices just malfunction. Guess it's time for a sit down. This is the problem I got with humans, mostly the common man. Constantly fucking with energy they don't understand. Always thinking they got the upper hand. The G-forces from my maneuvers can snap your spine like a rubber band. I shouldn't waste my time, they ain't half as nice. Put a Red Bull in your coffin so your ghost can have wings in the afterlife. Let's rock and roll like a belly dancer's rhinestone. It was my idea to shake the pineal gland like a pine cone. My thoughts create hurricanes, tornadoes, and cyclones. A punch for me is like an avalanche of granite and limestone. You live here, but now this is my home. I neuralize both your retinas. You wake up staring at the screen of your iPhone. Confused by the light plus the high tone. And now we connected from the microchip I placed next to your thigh bone. It's hard to understand cause you're mind blown, but I gotta cut communication. Your government just scramble they spy drones.
That voice is speaking Sumerian, the oldest language in human history.
I can't explain it.
Showtime. Like I said, it's your boy, Big Mike
Lights,
Raider.
camera, action. Sheesh.
Lights, camera, action. To the right of me or to the left of me, I don't know. We got somebody special, Elisa Hernandez. How you doing?
I'm good. We just finished our last Sunday with no NFL football until February. So I'm hyped. I'm locked. I'm loaded. I'm ready to go.
Yes. Same here. So we got a little bit of things to talk about. Some drama on the Raiders side, right? Saw Chandler Jones, some crazy stuff. He was putting some stuff on IG, saying he doesn't want to be with the Raiders anymore. Calling out the coaches and things like that. What do you think about that as a Broncos fan? I'm putting it out there. You're a Broncos fan. We're going to talk a little bit about this matchup first.
Right.
But give me kind of your take on what's going on with Chandler Jones and kind of how you see it from your perspective.
I mean, I am not the biggest Josh McDaniels fan. I mean, as a Broncos fan too, because, I fell asleep when Brandon Marshall was a Bronco and then I woke up and he was a Dolphin. So I am not, me and him are not friends. Okay. Right. I was never the biggest believer in Josh McDaniels. And honestly, he has such a rep that's very split, right? Some people say, oh, he's such a player's coach and da-da-da. And the other guy's like, no, he's only out for himself. And realistically, given what he did to Darren Waller, trading him like right after he got married, the fact that you weren't invited to his wedding is already telling as it is. But it's like, I don't even know what the situation is. You change the logs, whatever it was. It's Chandler Jones. Okay, you're having Chandler Jones work out at a local gym. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is the message that you're sending to everyone that puts in work in this league, that puts in work into your franchise, that you're over here giving him issues to even go work into the practice facility for no reason? And I mean, he specifically called out, Josh McDaniels. He called out Dave Ziegler, which is GM. And then he gave a shout out to Patrick Graham, which is defensive coordinator. So clearly he has love for the organization. He's just like, these two guys, I don't rock with. So, I mean, it's very telling. And it's not what you want to have, especially as you're getting ready for the season to kick off. You don't want to have drama. It just started. You're back in the honeymoon phase. Like, you broke up during the offseason, you get back together. Like, it's like, come on now. How are you already starting off with this?
This is what we do every year. I hope you know that. I'm sure you know already from a Broncos, as a Broncos fan, every week before that season starts, we get a little bit of drama. This kind of reminds me of a few years ago with the AB situation. How right before we actually playing you guys on a Monday night, AB gets into it with Mike Mayock and all those guys over there and ends up not being on the team. Now, it's kind of weird what was going on because days before on Twitter, he was showing that he bought the coach, Josh McDaniels, and Ziegler some Tom Ford glasses. So things seem to be good. And he was saying that he's going to catch Von Miller in the active sacks, for the top spot, basically. And wake up and things are otherwise. It's kind of weird, right?
He must have bought him some rose-colored glasses, okay? Because that's the only way you're going to get through the season rocking with those two. I'm telling you, it's one of those things, like, stuff changes, right? And I mean, the Raiders, for me, it's always, like you said, it's always something. which is always like distracting from what's happening on the field, right? And it's like you have Jimmy G, you got Josh Jacobs back, but even that was this drama in itself. So I think it's one of those things where it's like, look, at the end of the day, like coaches, GMs, like y'all, I look at it as y'all replaceable. I know some people look at the way around the players can get, but it's like, look, the product that you have in Las Vegas, you're up against champions. The WNBA team, the Aces, won a title.
Man, you're right.
The Golden Knights won a title all in the first 5 years of them moving to Las Vegas. So Las Vegas is getting comfortable. Like, okay, like our teams are contenders. If you guys are putting good product on the field, it's gonna hit at some point. You're gonna run into that wall of like, okay, so you guys just like, we win here in Vegas. And we're showing that we're winning in our other sports that we're investing in. So like kind of like Raiders, it's time for you to show up.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And I've been kind of talking ad nauseum about that whole thing this offseason. Like, hey, the Aces, everybody's getting the job done. We got to make this thing happen. It's kind of crazy that we're kind of right here week one, right before we play you guys, the Broncos.
Yep.
And we're dealing with drama. We should be focused in on the game. But this is typical Raiders fashion. But before we kind of get a little more into what we're going to talk about, I want to acknowledge the chat. Shout out to Raiders Primos, Big Mike Raider. Salute to you, man. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for the support. Let's see who else we got. We got Sean Johnson, the legendary Sean Johnson in the building. Salute Big Mike bringing that fire. Hey, I do my best. Raiders Primo says bringing that content. Really bad. Shout out to my guys at Chillmore, man. I'm really bad with that content thing, but yeah, it's let's see who else we got here. Let's see. Top beats in the building.
They're saying like, was it locked for Labor Day? And it's like, look, bro, Chandler Jones should have a key. Like, it's Chandler Jones. Right. Like, you should have a special entrance, CJ on top. Like, that's no excuse. Especially like you never want to stop your players from putting in that work.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. You're right.
You don't got no days
Shout
off.
out to Protect the Shield podcast. Say what?
I said we in sports. We don't have days off. We're in sports.
Yeah. No, come on, man. No days off. Protect the Shield podcast. Salute to you. Walt in the building. Big Pimp in the house. Nah, that's you, Walt. Ain't no way in the building, Big Mike. So, all right, let's get into it. We're getting to this game. Week one against the Broncos. Broncos are 4-point favorites at home.
We are.
You guys haven't beat us in about 7 games. It's been 6-7 games. It's been a while.
It's been 6. Let's get it right.
Maybe I'm counting 7 because
you're already counting Sunday.
I'm already counting Sunday.
Yo,
so
disrespect.
So 4-point underdogs the Raiders are. Give me your take on what you expect this season from this season and this game from the Broncos. Just a little bit. Start with the game and then kind of go long term. What you expect this season?
I mean, it got to be better than last season, right? Like we won 5 games last season.
We're in the same boat.
It's just but it's one of those things where honestly, this season is going to be a really good measuring stick because we start the season playing against the Raiders, we end the season playing against the Raiders, so it's going to be a good measuring stick to kind of see how we progress. I just, last year we were just so plagued with injuries. We had 5 big injuries to our wide receiver, running back, tight end, and our offensive line. I mean, Russell was probably one of the most pressured quarterbacks in the league, right? And when he had that time to throw, he would make plays, but he just had no one to give the ball to. He had no one to throw the ball to, and he's not that, explosive run 50 yards like Cam used to do and he used to do back in the day. He's not that guy anymore. He can do it, but not every single play like he did like what got him to the Super Bowl. So I think, now that he's getting some key pieces back, I don't think it's really enough. I think, with Sean Payton coming in, I think it's going to revitalize that team a bit where they're going to win a couple more games, but it's not going to be an easy season. They have the 12th toughest schedule this season. And it's one of those things that you're going to, play these teams that were above 500 last season that are fully healthy and you're still struggling. Your number 2 receiver is probably going to be a rookie. So it's just like, you kind of look at those things. And I think with Peyton coming in, I think it's going to be good for Russell. I mean, Russell cannot have a worse season than he did last season. But I think Peyton coming in, the Broncos are banking on him to capture that magic. Okay. Because they traded for this coach. They traded for this coach. Okay, that rarely happens.
Right.
They did. I think Tampa Bay did it with John Gruden when they traded
Yeah.
him from
Right.
Oakland back in 2002. So the one fun fact I did find about that is that Gruden, Belichick, Shula all won Super Bowls within the first 3 seasons with their new team after being traded, right? And so I think the Broncos are trying to capture that kind of magic. And basically, hopefully you see, like, you know, trying to see what can Payton bring to the table. I think he's a very offensive-minded coach. I think Russell needs that. I think Nathaniel Hackett was just way out of his league, you know, with the team. And I think that they're, you know, going to try some new things. But they're hanging on by pieces right now. Like, they're, as much as they want to say during, you know, training camp, oh, you know, we did great progress. Like, yeah, but a lot of people got hurt too. So it's just, and that's going to reflect, because the Raiders, you guys are much healthier at the key positions than the Broncos.
Right. That's kind of where we have, I'd say, we have the slight advantage on that end, because you guys are dealing with, you guys lost Patrick from that from an injury.
Tough loss.
Was it KJ Hamler? He went down, heart issue, so you know he's gone. And then now Jerry Jeudy, he's kind of dealing with that hamstring injury. So we don't know. So now we're kind of looking back from last year.
Yeah.
Who was Russell Wilson going to throw it to?
I mean, who's left?
It's the same situation, right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and it's. I think that the Raiders' defense was very porous last year. We did have stretches of playing very well towards the middle back end of the season when the offense also sputtered. So if we can get the defense kind of going along with the offense, very potent offense, you know, they, especially with Jimmy G, you know, kind of being familiar with that, you know, the Josh McDaniels system. You know, he played his first 4 seasons there in New England. So if he can kind of get back, you know, right away and jump in and feet to fire and get things going, that offense is going to continue being potent. Josh Jacobs, he's back. I'm expecting him to kind of have like a 15 carry type of game. I don't think he's going to have like the high volume of carries he did last year, just because, you know, for one, he missed training camp. You don't want to throw him out there and give him 30 carries right off the jump, right? So I'm thinking that we're going to get about 15 carries, trying to do a running back by committee, even though our running backs behind Jacobs aren't that great. You know,
we have that same problem.
You know, so, but that Broncos defense is tough, but
top 10.
And, you know, I think the offense is going to do their thing. It's really going to come down to the defense. We can't let a guy like Marvin Mims Jr., rookie out of Oklahoma, come and take over. And that's kind of where I think from the Broncos side, I think that's going to be your guys' X factor, if there is one, right? That's going to be the kind of guy that is going to make the difference in that game. Also, your tight end, Dulcich, you know, Russell Wilson's going to find him kind of a safety blanket and things like that. And I think that 1-2 is going to be like the biggest key for you guys to win. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I had to take a look at our receiving core, and it's like, who's left? And obviously you got Cortland Sutton, but you know, Marvin Mims Jr., like from Oklahoma, like I have him as my X factor because he has to be. Like, there's literally no one else, right? And honestly, they got him as that big play guy. You know, he led his team in receiving yards each of the last 3 seasons that he was at Oklahoma, and so he's used to that. They have him running on special teams as well as with, you know, the receiving core. But once Patrick went down, which is such a tough loss, like, because you tore your ACL in 2022, you come back and you tear your Achilles, like, it's just that back-to-back that it's like, you know, now it's like, all right, rookie, now it's like, now it's your time to step up. And Cortland had nothing but good things to say about him after camp. Like, oh, he's a big explosive guy. I'm excited to see him. He had that really big 50-yard connection from Jarrett Stidham, like, versus the Rams, which is the only good sighting of the Broncos that we saw, because they lost every other game by 1 point, which is football. I don't know how you lose by 1 point. Like, that is so annoying. So you know, it's like one of those things. But, you know, he averaged about 20 yards per game, but he's gonna have to do more at this level. Now, he's going against, you know, a defense that I think, like, for the Broncos, like, they're not too worried about, right? Because the thing with us last season was that we were never out. We just could never score, right? Like, we were losing games like 6-9, and we were losing games by 1-2 possession games. And it's like, it's frustrating when it's it's one pass, one catch, one first down that really is the tell of the tape. And so you kind of look at what Cortland is doing and what this defense is doing. And yeah, they have Josh Jacobs on your guys' side, but the Broncos defense was top 10 last year. They had top 10 rushing defense. They're going to probably front load him as much as possible to tire his low ass out, because it's just one of those things that, when you look at this matchup, you kind of see like it's going to come down to Devontae Adams, because I do think that Russell is better than Jimmy G. Our defense is better than, I believe is better than the Raiders, but you guys have you have a lot more weapons. You have Hunter Renfrow, you have Devontae, you have, a couple guys out there that are gonna make plays. You have Max Crosby. So, and like, we have no answer. We have no answer for Max. We have a very high price tag on Mike McGlinchey, I think his name is. And he was injured at the start of camp. He has a knee, like his knee was messing him up. And so we don't really have an answer to stop Max Crosby. And so if Russ is going to get anything done, we have to at least hold him for, I don't know, he needs to wear red gloves so they can't tell if they're holding him or something, because like black gloves or something, because it's one of those things that we don't really have an answer for Max Crosby. And so, but we're just going to hope that our defense holds strong. We're playing at home, which is, it's helpful there too, but it's going to be one of those things that I think that's why they have the Broncos as a 4-point favorite. It's not because of the offense though. It's because that defense is, so effective last year.
Now I expect that, that's pretty much what I expect from Vegas, from the media. Mm-hmm. They're really kind of riding the Broncos defense. They were great. As great as their defense was as bad as the offense was. So, and they're also banking that Sean Payton is going to be, he's going to bring that magic, like you said. Yep. And that there's no way that the offense is going to be as bad as they were last year's, right? That's kind of what they're banking on. And I see where they're coming from, but who's going to block Max Crosby? Like you said, Mike McGlinchey, he's a turnstile. I don't know if you know this. With the 49ers, he gave up 6 sacks, and a lot of penalties. Kind of did the happy feet. He starts getting the grabbing. So,
that offensive line is really what hurt Russell all last season, right? He had no time to make a decision. He was one of the most pressured quarterbacks. And again, like he hit rock bottom. So for me, it's like there's only one way to go. Like, don't start digging, go up, because you had the last ranked offense. You literally had the worst season of your career. First time I think he had double-digit losses ever. His lowest passer career rating, his lowest passer rating, he had 11 interceptions. He didn't look like what they traded him for. Now, just to give context, I'm sure everybody on here knows it, but I mean, Denver traded a whole lot to get him. They traded more than they did for Payne. They traded the first and second round picks in 2022, 2023, 2022, 5th round pick, and 3 players to the Seahawks for this one guy. Now, look, if there's one thing the Broncos like to do is revitalize careers. Okay, we got Peyton Manning, that's the sheriff, Hall of Famer, all that good stuff. He also took us to the Super Bowl, twice in 4 years. And so it's now for us, like, okay, you missed one, cool. Like, get back to it, because everyone's saying you're done. Everyone's saying you're washed. The same thing with Peyton, right? And I'm not saying they're the same player, because I do believe that Peyton is better, but they have that same work ethic and mentality, and kind of like, okay, like, let's work. Because that last season, when the Broncos won Super Bowl 50, let me tell you, Peyton may have gotten there, but he wasn't the one that won it. Okay, that was all Vaughn, and that was all DeMarcus Ware and all that good stuff. But ironically, since that Super Bowl, we have not made it back to the playoffs. And so I think that's one of the things that the Broncos are they're kind of trying to recapture. And, back when Sean Payton was with the Saints back in 2006, they had the number 1 total offense in the league. So he's an offensive genius, and I'm hoping that he can sprinkle that magic on Russ to get the rust off.
We'll see. I'm gonna get to some of the chat right here. We got Anthony Provinzio in the house. He said, "Just come to the dark side." What you think about that one?
Look. I wore black. All right, that's as far as I'm gonna
go. Respect enough. Shout out to Crypto Tales, my bro, asking how she feels about betting against the Raiders.
Oh, he wanna talk. Tell him we could run it back.
Oh man,
run it back.
I've heard about you guys' bets. I definitely heard about the bets.
I always pay up. But you know what? Look, this time it's like I'm always gonna have faith in my team. All right. Plus, the fact that we were battling for last place is not something we want to be proud of. But dang, like,
that's a fact.
6 losses, 6 losses to the Raiders as a not only a division rival, but also just as a fan, it's one of those things where it's like, come on now, like six losses in a row. Come on now. You have to do better than that.
Yeah. So we talked about the rookie. We talked about Marvin Mims. Do you see any other rookies that you guys drafted from this class? Because I know you guys got Drew Sanders, one of my favorite linebackers coming out of this draft out of Arkansas.
Yeah.
J.L. Skinner, a late round pick, really lengthy type of safety from Boise State.
Yeah.
Riley Moss from Iowa. Who else do you think is going to contribute to this game besides Marvin Mims? Do you see any of the other rookies contributing?
I mean, you know, I feel like on the defense side, I think is they got a lot of defensive guys, right? Obviously, we have the biggest thing they're going to help with is offensive line. We did draft a center, Alex Forsyth, I think, from Oregon. Forsyth back in the 7th round. He didn't win the starting job, obviously. You know, he's third on the depth chart. Like, I feel like he still has some time to go. He might be in that situation where it's like they're just going to have to start, you know, cycling them out. See, like, what's working? What are your strengths? Because we're going to need that side more than anything. I think with Drew Sanders, you know, he was a beast. You know, he led, you know, he spent time in Alabama, obviously. He had a career high 6 tackles there, unanimous All-American. I mean, he's one of those guys that can really, I think, make an impact. You know, he had 9.5 sacks, led the team 103 tackles. He's second at the depth chart right now at the inside, you know, linebacker position behind Alex Singleton. So I think it's one of those things where, you know, you just have to stay hungry, and I think that you can make an instant impact. I think at CB we're, you know, we're all right. I think the guy that we drafted, Riley Mosley, he got hurt. He had surgery, he had core muscle surgery. So I think for him right now, he's just gonna have to watch, right? He's gonna have to see, learn as much as he can. So I don't think he's gonna really make a big impact this year, if at all. And as far as like Skinner, you know, he's third in the depth chart, behind the strong safety position. So I think like he led Boise State in interceptions, but I think he had like 7. Like it wasn't anything crazy, right? It wasn't like he had 25 interceptions. You know, he did have career high 13 tackles, but he was surprised he made the team. So you know what I mean? He thought if they didn't call you, that means that you like, you know, it's like when you go ghost on someone, it's like, no, bro, like the NFL is cold-blooded. We will call you to tell you it's over. Like, so he was surprised he made the team. So I think out of those guys, aside from Mims, who they're really gonna need, I think it's between Alex Forsyth and Drew Sanders. I just think the guy that they're gonna want to come in that might not have a choice is Alex, just because like that offensive line is gonna need a lot of work over the course of the season, because the defense is I think it's gonna pick up where they left off. I think they have Randy Gregory's gonna come back from injury and all that good stuff. So I think it's one of those things where it's like the defense, cool. You have Vance Joseph, you know, back. He's been with the team before. You know, he had good moments down there in Arizona. So I think with those kind of pieces, I think those rookies are more like they have a learning curve. They're lucky. I think Alex might be thrown to the fire. Alex and Mims, like y'all gonna be thrown into the fire. Like
yeah. You might be right. I will give you some credit for this offensive line. It is a kind of a revamped offensive line. You guys signed Ben Powers from the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah,
solid right left guard, and then you also have Quinn Miners, who's been there. This is, I think, his 3rd season. You guys have a good interior offensive line going. I think you guys can build on that. My question, kind of where I see the vulnerability, is that Mike McGlinchey, especially in this game. You know, we kind of talked about it already. I mean, I don't really see anybody really being able to block Max Crosby. Now, you can do things as different ways to kind of stop Max Crosby, kind of slow him down, put a tight end right there, chip him in certain plays, you know, like a slot receiver, kind of chip him a little bit, give him a little forearm to slow him down just a little bit. So there is different ways. But in saying all that, besides the McGlinchey and Crosby, what are you afraid of in this game, matchup wise, for the Raiders, offense and defense? Kind of, who are the 2 matchups you're looking at that you're like, oh man, we can get cooked here possibly?
I mean, look, as much as I'm a big fan of his, all eyes are on Devontae Adams and Patrick Surtain II. I mean, that's really where that attention, for me, that's where that attention is. And the thing is, Adams been cooked both games last season. You know what I mean? He had 9 catches, 101 yards. He had 7 catches, 144 yards in the last game. Now, Surtain wasn't on him on all of those plays, but that doesn't mean anything. That just means that we couldn't stop him no matter who was on him, which is not necessarily something you want to brag about. But I think it's one of those matchups that you have to kind of look at. Surtain was first team All Pro last year. He did give credit where credit was due. He did say that Davante Adams was the best receiver he'd gone up against all season. But again, for me, it's like I just hope Jimmy G don't get you the ball. Like I just hope that he just overthrow your ass like as much as he can, because there's just like it's one of those factors where it's like we know it's coming, but we can't stop it. To me, the Raiders is Max Crosby and Davante Adams. Those are the two guys that are really going to make or break this game, right? And I think if Mike McGlinchey can semi hold his own, or like if he doesn't go out with a knee, like with his knee or something like that, and then we have Patrick Surtain, who I just hope like can try to just adjust, be more physical, be more aggressive, and potentially they put him on the whole, like asked to be on Adams right now. You didn't have him the whole time last year, but asked to be on it, take on that challenge. It's a measuring stick for you as well. So I think, the 6 game losing streak, like he's very well aware of that. I think that they all are at this point. And I think it's one of those things that he's excited to have this matchup, because again, it's all a measuring stick, right? You're going to measure yourself against the best. And so my attention is on that. And again, it is on the Max Crosby versus Mike McGlinchey matchup too, because that's going to really impact how effective Russell is.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, people in the chat are mentioning no Jacobs. You're not concerned about Jacobs? I mean,
we had top 10 rushing defense. Nah,
hey,
I'm fine.
I mean,
I'm fine.
Jacobs, he did some damage against you guys too last year too. I mean, he led the league in rushing for a reason. So.
Yeah. Look, I like Jacobs. To me, it's like when you have when the all eyes on this, he could sneak by, right? He could sneak by as like, oh, like, okay, like you guys are going to pay attention to me. This is what I'm going to do. And the one thing that the Broncos barely have are running backs, right? Like we are very, very thin at that position. And so that also could be an X factor kind of for you guys, right? Like for us, it's just a matter of making sure that we front load as much as possible, making sure that we stop the run as much as possible. It's not something that the Broncos are particularly good at over the course of the franchise. Like you're just not good at stopping the run. But I think it's just one of those things where you have to start make them throw the ball. Like that's really what it comes down to. Like make your situations where they have to throw the ball. And so it's like you have to let him be effective. Fine, you can't stop it, but make those crucial first downs where they have to throw the ball.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know what? Here's the thing. I think that Jacobs is gonna have a decent season. I just think that right now, that first game, I just don't see him coming out and then the chat is probably gonna disagree with me, but I mean,
they said like our defensive coordinators afraid.
Right. So that is a thing, right? So it's just, to me, I think that it is almost, and you've seen it year after year, right? That these running backs, you've seen it with Jonathan Taylor, we've seen Derrick Henry, a bunch of guys who led the league in rushing one year, then they come out and they can't do that same, they can't run that same deal, right? Because they go down with injuries and things like that. That's my biggest concern for Josh Jacobs, and especially because he didn't go through training camp and things like that. His feet to the fire right off the jump. Yeah, he's been through a couple of practices up to this point, but you never want to just like 30 carries right off the jump. Now you're risking like soft tissue injuries, like hamstrings and things like that, and feet, things like that. We've seen in years past. So I see for Jacobs kind of easing him in a little bit for this game. And give him like 15 carries, kind of get him more involved with the passing game a little bit out of the backfield. I see things like that, but I don't know. I think that go for it.
I was gonna say, because like you guys have a tough schedule too. I think your first 4 games are on the road. You guys play Buffalo next week in Buffalo, and then you guys play the Pittsburgh. Steelers. And so I think it's one of those things too. It's like, again, like you have to start thinking of that scenario, because like you said, okay, like yes, it's a divisional rival, etc. You want to come out swinging, it's on the road. It does make a statement if you can do this, right? But then it's like next week, it's like that's the beautiful thing about our game, right? But I think, like I said, the Broncos have the 12th toughest schedule, the Raiders have the 10th toughest schedule of the season. So it's not going to be any easier for you guys. And I think you guys have, in rushing, you guys were 17th last season. Total offense, you were, you're in top 15. But that red zone defense, y'all were 26. So, it's like it's one of those things where it's like, look, you guys can be effective driving on the ball, but this is what I was trying to say to you. Like, for the Broncos, it's like, sure, have them rush, have them but make that red zone where they have to throw the ball, where they have to like make it hard for them. And I think that's kind of where this is coming up, because in the red zone, you guys were terrible last season. And so that's really where it all counts. So you have to like kind of start thinking of those things. Again, I think to me, it all comes down to Devontae Adams in that matchup with Surtain. And I think it comes up to Max Crosby and the damage that he does.
Here's the thing about the red zone offense. Derek Carr, this chat doesn't like Derek Carr. We don't like Derek Carr around here.
Actually, technically, I think Jimmy G's more accomplished than Derek Carr, which is crazy to say.
Right. And here's the verdict on that Jimmy G Derek Carr thing. Derek Carr is a better he can throw the ball. He's a better thrower of the ball, but when it comes to red zone, Jimmy G is among the best in the league. I mean, he's shown it year after year.
He's also been hurt.
He's also been hurt.
He missed 8 games, including the playoffs, with a broken foot. You know what I mean?
True.
That happened towards the end of the season. So it's also, you have to start thinking about like that health, that longevity that we have, that you kind of have to kind of lean into.
That's true. But I'm telling you, once we get in that red zone, you're going to see a different team this year. I think that Jimmy G has shown with the 49ers that once he gets in the red zone, it's game time. He's getting 7. We're not getting 3s this time, because Derek Carr, for whatever reason, he'll get into the red zone and just lose his mind. Doesn't know how to play quarterback anymore. But now with Jimmy G, you can get. We got 2 new tight ends. Austin Hooper's a solid. He's solid, and then Michael Mayer, second round guy.
Yeah, drafted him.
He might be probably the best tight end coming out of this class, arguably, right? He's another target, and then Devontae Adams, of course. You got to deal with him every time. So I think that we have more weapons in the red zone this year than we did last year, and especially with Jimmy G being at quarterback. Now you were right. He's been injured. He's always injured, but you've seen it with Tom Brady, right? Under this McDaniel system years past, Brady 3-step drops, a little quick. Get the ball out of your hand, keep him upright. So I'm thinking that Jimmy G is going to play a full 17 games because of that.
You haven't played the whole season.
I haven't played the whole season. Now I've been cooked. Trust me, I've been cooked all off season saying that I think Jimmy G is going to be, he's going to be available for the entire season. So trust me, I've heard it all, right? Like I get it. But the type of offense that McDaniels runs, you know what kind of offense he runs and things like that. He's going to get the ball out quickly. Yeah. So that's going to help Jimmy G kind of stay upright and not get injured and things like that.
Yeah, I think Jimmy G started, in 2 games technically under Josh McDaniels, right? He had a high completion rating. I think he passed for over 400 yards on 500, 4 passing TDs. But the thing that really got me was the 0 interceptions during those regular starts, under the Josh McDaniels reign. And so I think that's really going to help him, kind of. You leave the chaotic quarterback situation that was in San Francisco. You come to the Raiders. Obviously, you have Josh McDaniels, something you're familiar with, a system you're familiar with, and something that is very plug-in for you, right? And I think that's kind of how you want to see it. And Jimmy G was more effective than Carr in their NFL careers. As crazy as that is, given that Carr has been starting for much longer and obviously played a lot more games than he did, but your pass rating, he's higher than him. Pass yards attempt, he's higher than him. So it's like you kind of look at the completion rating, and it's not that far off. But like you said, it might just be that extra hump that you will need to get 7 versus 3. So I think it's one of those things that you kind of have to kind of put in your back of your mind. And Jimmy G has 4 playoff wins. So let's just say that. The Raiders have 4 playoff wins since 2000. So he has the same amount of playoff wins as the entire Raiders organization since 2000. So I think it's one of those things that you really couldn't go. I think Carr's time was just over. I think he just needed to go. You guys did the right decision. Obviously, he's all the time, he's higher passer rating for him. But it's almost how Stafford was with the Lions, right? He was. I always liked Stafford. He was always top 10 in passer rating. Obviously, when they made that trade and Goff went over there, for me, it was like, he needs to come to where he actually has someone to throw the ball to, right? And for Carr, it's like you had someone to throw the ball to. You went to college with this person, and you didn't make that magic work. Okay, so maybe it's a flip story, and maybe now Jimmy G, you're gonna come and you're gonna make that magic work because you know, Devontae knows how to go after the ball. Devontae knows how to make big plays. Devontae knows, you know, what he needs to do. All he needs to do is a quarterback to actually target and get him the ball. And Carr just was not doing that last season. At least I don't think he was.
No, you're definitely right. You're definitely right. It was a struggle watching them. And then here's the struggle. Like we gave up so many leads last year. I think it was like 6 or 7. We had 2 17-point leads and we blew them off. 13-point lead. We were up at halftime against the Steelers on Christmas Eve. It was like 6 games where we were up big and should have won those games. You know, so and the difference was like second half, the defenses on the other side were kind of adjusting, and you know, it was more of 3 and outs in the second half from the offense, and the defense was out on the field way too much, allowing comebacks. So I think this year, if we can kind of correct those things that was going on last year, I think I'm not saying playoffs, but I'm saying we're going to be a much improved team from last year.
Yeah, well, that's what makes me hate the Chiefs so much, right? Because I think when all these acquisitions happen, you had, you know, Adams go and Carr, you had Russell go to the Broncos, you had Matt go to the Chargers, you had all these movement, and then it's like, oh, like that's where it's all gonna, and then the Chiefs just went and blew everyone out of the water, right? Because consistency is key, right? And I think that's what none of the remaining team like in our division have. The Chargers, the Broncos, and the Raiders, like there's no consistency in anything. And I think with the Chiefs, like that's what they've had. That's what's worked for them. And that's why even when Tyreek Hill left and they brought Juju in, it fit, right? And that's why when certain things are moving around, you can kind of adjust. Like you guys just signed Jacoby Myers, I think 3-year deal. And I think he was pretty good. He played under Josh McDaniels as well. So again, you're trying to give your coach as much as you can as a GM. You're trying to give him everything you can. So like there's no excuses at this point, right? So it's like, you know, you get rid of Waller, you get Austin Hooper, you get Myers. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we're doing it your way. We're trusting it to do it your way. But if you're not going to produce wins, if you're not going to produce anything, then it's going to be your time to go, which I don't think Josh McDaniels is a head coach in this league. I never seen it. And you already know me. I have my issues with him since his days in Denver. But you know what I mean? It's just like, it's like the Broncos are just, to me, it's like they're getting better, but you guys are much healthier at the more key positions. And I think like as much as we have Payton, as much as we have Russell, like Courtney doesn't have to put the whole team on his back, and Mims is going to have to be a like standout rookie. I think he can be. I don't know if that's going to be week 1. Yeah. Because he still needs his welcome to the league hit. You know what I mean? Like they all get it. Right. They all get it. And so it's just one of those things, you know? So
yeah, you're right. So shout out to the 76 that's listening in and supporting everything. I need for you guys to like the thumb, hit the sub, and share with your folks. And also the chat. You got some fans here. I just want to let you know you got some serious fans in the chat. I've been trying not to point them out and things like that. I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but flip them, right? I want you to flip them because they're fans of yours right now, and they're not going to be fans after you pick the game prediction. Who do you got winning this game?
Oh, how you gonna make them turn on me?
Hey, who do you got winning this game, and how does it happen?
Oh my gosh! Look, I will say, like, I don't like doing actual score predictions, not because I'm bad at them, right? I'm not good at math, so I don't like actually putting numbers on them. But I don't think this is gonna be a shootout. It's not gonna be a landslide. The last 5 losses have been 1 or 2 possessions. The last one we lost was went to overtime, right? So I don't think it's gonna be like, this crazy blowout. I'm not. Look, I'm always split in 2. This is what I always tell people. Like people always ask me, like, oh, like how do you separate your fandom? It's like because I'm a very logical person. Okay, so my logic and my like just number stats, all that stuff. I do have the Raiders upsetting. I do as like analysts, right? Because again, you guys are much more healthier at the key positions. At wide receiver, at running back, on the defensive line, you have that playmaker that's going to go after the quarterback. I don't know if we have key pieces, but we're still trying to get it together. A lot of people are coming back from injury. Again, I do think that the Broncos will get better. I don't know if we're going to see that week 1, given what's happened over the last month in training camp with Mike McGlinchey, with Patrick, with Mims having to step up. It's just a lot in the air, right? So as that, I do think that the Raiders will win this game again with Hunter Renfrow. You have Devontae Adams, Philip Dorsett, Josh Jacobs. You have key pieces there. What you were missing was someone in the red zone, right? And to your point, we brought that up with Jimmy G. So from an analyst standpoint, look, I do have the Raiders winning. I do. But as a fan standpoint, which is why me and what's up, Cam, always cryptocurrency always go at it. It's because I'm always gonna pick my team. Okay, as a fan, I'm always gonna pick my team. We going undefeated this year. I think the make or break is gonna come down to who can make the quarterback uncomfortable. I think, to your point, Josh Jacobs is going to be effective this season. I don't think he's going to be as effective this game. I think he'll have a couple big plays, but it's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna go off for over 200 yards and he's not gonna have a Kelsey game. I don't think he's gonna have that. Yeah. But I do think that the Broncos, it's gonna come down to a stupid score, like 17-20 or something like that. I think it's gonna come down to it. Again, as the analyst in me, I gotta go with it makes more sense that the Raiders are going to win this game, especially as the 4 point it isn't enough. It isn't enough to convince me that the Broncos have everything in line from every position. You have and your quarterback's healthy, wide receivers are healthy. You have the top running back in the league returning. You have one of the best defensive sides going after your quarterback. That is a recipe for a week 1 win, even on the road, right? Yeah. The Broncos, on the other hand, I just think that we have band-aids. I mean, just look at our running back position. It's a band-aid. Like our number 2 running back averaged 4 yards. You know what I mean? Our backup QB is went on hiatus for 2 years. I think he played for you guys last year. So we're put together with glue and tape right now. And so again, I think, as we kind of go on, it can get better, but I just don't know if that's going to translate to a win in week 1. So
wow. So you definitely kept your fans, I'll tell you that. So
it wasn't on purpose. But I'm not gonna sit there. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, we going." No, that's not honest. That's not real. You gotta look at the players that we're putting on the field. You think Mims is gonna have a better game than Devontae Adams? You think that no. our third street, we're running back by committee right here, and it's you guys got one of the best running backs in the league. It's just. The level is just not matching up right now where the Broncos are. They took a lot of hits in training camp, took a lot of hits, in camp with injuries that I think they weren't ready for. And I think that Peyton and Russ still need to get on the same page. I don't know if you saw, but he told him, stop kissing babies. You're not a politician. Right.
And
it's
yo.
Exactly. So it's they need to get on the same page. And I think that they're not yet. But look, if Geno Smith can have this crazy comeback year, Russ can do it too. I just don't know if it's going to be week 1.
Okay, so we got pretty much the same outcome of the game. I think, I agree with you. I think it's going to be a dogfight. The Broncos defense is nothing to play with, right? We already know that. You guys get after that quarterback, it could be a struggle, right? You especially our guards. We have Greg Van Roten on one side at right guard, and then we have Dylan Parham, second year. Kind of a lot to prove on both sides in that interior as far as pass rushing goes. So with that 3-4 defense, you guys can get, especially with the interior versus our interior, you guys can definitely, you guys have the advantage there. Where I think we kind of make the difference, the X factor, I think that Hunter Renfrow is going to have kind of a big game. I think that Patrick Surtain is going to be he has a chip on his shoulder. I think he has something to prove this game. And I'm not saying he's going to shut down Devontae Adams. Nobody can. But I think he's going to do enough to kind of neutralize him to a certain degree. And that's going to leave Jimmy G to kind of look for somebody else, right? A Michael Mayer, Hooper, Hunter Renfrow, particularly in that slot as a slot receiver. So I think that's kind of where I see the advantage in that slot position. We get Josh Jacobs involved with the running game. And then defensively, you guys are kind of struggling on offense. So defensively, we will give a couple of scores up, but I think that we will show, especially coming out of the gate, we're going to give you our best defensively from that. So I do got to score the Raiders winning 22-16.
Yeah. We lost by 1 twice in the preseason. It's unacceptable for so many reasons. But again, it's you kind of look up that our running backs, we just haven't had any good ones too. Like if you look at that. So even if we do pierce like the Raiders defensive line, like we have, I don't know. I don't want to say half these fools' names, but like Perrine. I don't know say his name.
Yeah, Samaje P. Ryan. Yeah.
Thank you, P. Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank you. But it's like you're back with Javonte Williams. Obviously, the Gordon thing didn't work out. Obviously, you know, Murray didn't work out. It's like we're going through these running backs, but we're not getting a solid one. And so, you know, he's a Band-Aid. Again, like I told you, he averaged 4 yards with Cincy. Now, granted, you were playing behind Mixon and all these playmakers, but it's like still, it's like Pacheco with the Chiefs was also getting those cleanup yards, and he ended up leading the Chiefs in rushing yards for the season and in the playoffs. So it's like, so for me, it's no excuse. And I think with Williams, he suffered an injury too. He had an injury against the Raiders in week 4. Yeah. And obviously like they're happy with his progress, but again, he only had 7 touches in that week 2, in the preseason week 2. So I think it's like when you're monitoring minutes of your starting running back, like you're monitoring your minutes on that. You're monitoring your minutes on your right tackle. It's just not a recipe for a win, especially when you're looking at a team that, you know, has pieces in place, move some stuff around, has a quarterback that can at least have enough time to find an open man. You know what I mean? I think again, with the people you guys have at your wide receiver positions, I think it just gives Jimmy G more options for the 1, 2, and 3 versus only having to lock down Sutton or Cortland or having to lock down Mims. You know what I mean? It's like, you know exactly where Russell's going to go when he only has 2 options. Yeah,
you're right. You're absolutely right. So I think we unpacked this one pretty good. I think we did. I think we got the Raiders both winning in a low scoring game.
Yeah. I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
But if it's higher than that, I will be shocked. I'll be shocked because I just don't see it being higher than that.
Yeah. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Shout out to the 74 that's in the chat. Thank you for your support. Make sure you guys like the thumb, hit the sub, and share with your folks. Elisa, thank you so much for blessing the channel. Let your fans know where we can find you because they want to know. They want to know where they can see you. Everywhere.
Well,
Everywhere
look, guys. I will be traveling a lot this season, so make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. It's my handle right there, Elisa Hernandez TV. Make sure you guys follow on that. I'll be at Sunday Night Football. I'll be at kickoff on Thursday, and then I'll be in New York for the Dallas Giants game. So I'm gonna be all over the place. I will be at Mile High at some point this season. I will be in Vegas, I believe for the Steelers game. So that's gonna be a Sunday Night Football game. So yeah, make sure you guys follow along, say hi, all that good stuff. Look, it's always fun going back and forth, but look, we need to team up and dethrone the Chiefs. Okay, that's the goal, guys. That is the goal, all right? We can argue later, but right now, we got to dethrone these Chiefs. I'm getting sick of them winning. Like, I picked Jalen Hurts to win that game, okay?
Me too.
So,
just because I didn't want to see the Chiefs win. Just because I didn't want to see them win. So, we're on the same page.
At least that's some big hands because I used to play football with my brothers. That's why. And I could.
There you go.
I have to punch people out for talking mess about my team.
Hey, there you go. Tell them what's up. Tell them how we do it in Pasadena. But hey, thank you for popping up. Thank you for your support as always. I feel like you're selling yourself a little bit short.
Oh man.
I feel like you're selling yourself a little bit short. I'm not gonna, I'm not going to say what you told me before off air, but guys, you can also find her at the Dodger game. She does hosting for the Dodgers. You're going to see her everywhere at some point. Just a heads up. So I have to let them know you're selling yourself a little bit short, but I'm going to give you a second chance if you want to say where else we can find you.
All right, guys. Big Mike got to call me out. But no, it's true. You guys can find me at Dodger games. I'm the in-stadium host there. So I will be there, not this week, but next week, hosting some games before we go into playoffs. Because it's the rotation. We got to keep it going. We go from, baseball back into football. And then when football's over, we go back into baseball. So make sure you guys come out to a game, hang out, get ready for playoffs for there. And then again, I will be traveling for Sunday Night Football. So I'm really excited for that. So make sure you guys, follow along, follow me, say hi if you guys are at the games, all that good stuff. Just be like, hey, I'm friends with Big Mike. That's all you got to tell me. I'll be like, oh, okay. It's all love.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So I think we're going to wrap it up. Thanks once again. Guys, make sure you guys like the thumb, hit the sub, and share with your folks. And, you're breaking some hearts around here. Sorry for the chat. Sorry I didn't acknowledge more of the chat, but we started cooking. And, it's kind of hard to kind of stop when we're cooking and kind of acknowledge some of the stuff. So sorry in advance. Sorry for, not acknowledging.
Thank you for commenting, though. Thank you for commenting. We appreciate all comments and all that good stuff. So
absolutely. So with that one, calling it, you guys have a good one. You guys take care. Peace out.
This is one of them hits now. Heard back from Earth, we just shot a few of my ships down. It's safe to say I'm totally pissed. Wow, my cloaking devices just malfunction. Guess it's time for a sit down. This is the problem I got with humans, mostly the common man. Constantly fucking with energy they don't understand. Always thinking they got the upper hand. The G-forces for my maneuvers can snap your spine like a rubber band. I shouldn't waste my time, they ain't half as nice. Put a Red Bull in your coffin so your ghost can have wings in the afterlife. Let's rock and roll like a belly dancer's rhinestone. It was my idea to shake the pineal gland like a pine cone. My thoughts create hurricanes, tornadoes, and cyclones. A punch for me is like an avalanche of granite and limestone. You live here, now this is my home. I neuralize both your retinas, you wake up staring at the screen of your iPhone. Confused by the light plus the high tone. And now we connected from the microchip I placed next to your thigh bone. It's hard to understand cause you're mind blown, but I gotta cut communication. Your government just scrambled they spy drone.